special guest, somebody that I've been in contact with for a very long time, a man by the name of Julian Komar. And this guy is so impressive. Let me tell you just a little bit about what he's done so far. So he's been trading successfully now for 10 years. In that time, he's put together a massive following, over 100,000 followers across platforms. So he's on Twitter, he's on YouTube, and he's written an ebook. He recently put out a brand new course. The course is called Growth Traders Toolbox video course with over 300 videos in it. And he's doing all of this part-time. Julian, it's great to finally connect with you. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, hi Michael. Thank you very much for having me. So we were planning that for I think 1 month, and I had 2 bad colds in December. But yeah, I'm very happy that we now can do that. So thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we were talking a little bit before the show started. One of the things that you had mentioned too about how you're able to do all this stuff and still manage a full-time job, right? Like a regular 9 to 5 job, plus do all this other stuff. Tell us all, like, how are you able to manage all that?
With a lot of willingness to do that. So I think a lot of the biggest secret, of course, is that the things you do are enjoyable and that you have fun to do that. So, and I personally, I love to I love to be involved in a lot of different things at parallel. So I need this this multitasking situation, so working on different projects at the same time, and that is something which motivates me. And I also like to have a different category of activities and jobs. So and as I said also in our pre-conversation, so I think a lot of people underestimate how much you can achieve when you compound a lot of 30-minute slots. So, and I think this is one of the biggest secrets. So big things are changed by little steps. And I work mostly in the evening on my projects, and I plan a lot of things. I have a lot of routines. So I also automatize, for example, my social media activities, so that I'm not having, or that I'm not sitting in front of the screen the whole day.
Mm. So these little chunks of 30 minutes here, an hour there, like if somebody is watching Netflix, YouTube, TikTok, or whatever it is, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay motivated to stay on task, right? Because it's one thing to do it for a little while, right? Like we've all like can get motivated, and that motivation lasts for, maybe it lasts for a day, maybe it lasts for a week. But you're somebody that's done this consistently now for years. How do you develop that level of consistency, that level of discipline?
I like the things I do. So it is very funny.
That's a simple
Yeah,
answer.
that's the truth. You know, if you have fun to do the things and not only looking at the output or outcome, then you enjoy what you do. So, and I think there are two quotes or two sentences I'm thinking about. The first thing is, when you, for example, when you recruit people for a company, and you ask them, what do you need to come every morning into the company to be motivated, and they talk about external things, then you know that you have the wrong people. So, because people must be able to motivate themselves, that is very important. And I think this is also true for me. So I like the things I do, and the motivation comes by doing the things. So when I write my newsletter, at the weekend, when I'm looking forward to spend 1 hour in the evening to make a video, when I have when I'm sitting down on Monday or on Sunday to plan my social media week, for example. These are things I enjoy. So I love to create things, and I focus on creation and not so much on consumption. And of course, there are a lot of frustrating moments, especially when you deal with social media. So social media is a place where people talking a lot of a lot of things, and this also can frustrate you. But over the time, I learned one thing, and this is important for trading, and this is also important for being an author or writing things and being public. And this is to reflect your thoughts always. So when you feel frustrated, or maybe you see a comment on social media where you think, oh my God, what's that? So, and you reflect your thoughts and think, okay, is it really something where I want to spend 1 minute to think about, or where I want to spend 1% of my own energy to think about the comment or the feedback I get from social media? And in that second, I switch around and say, no, that's not. So, and then I maybe I block the person on social media or whatever. So, and make energy free again, and to bring myself out of a frustration zone, to get a little bit distance between the things. And that's the same with trading. So if you are frustrated with trading, you must develop something to get a little bit distance between the trading problem, loss or fear or whatever, and yourself. So, and this is very important, and that's something I learned over the years. This is nothing where you can say, okay, this is now there or something, and or that other people can teach you that. So you have to find a way for yourself. So this is very important.
That's brilliant. And I was just watching something the other day too from Tony Robbins that like all of us get frustrated at different things at different points for a variety of reasons. And well, one of the things that one of his tactics is he'll allow himself very similar to what you just said, and this is something that I've started to employ too. Like allow yourself to feel that anger, that annoyance, that frustration, but to not let it take over your day. Like be annoyed for 30 seconds. Sometimes it'll extend to a minute or maybe even 2 minutes. But like beyond that, like it starts to take over your day, or it starts to derail you from your primary objective. So getting back on track, how do you get back on track after you've encountered those things?
Take a pause, step back. So that's the only thing. Of course, there are so many moments also in your own trading career, and when you're watching the markets, etc., when you get frustrated, and then you need something besides trading. So for me personally, I like to work also in the garden, and this is a situation for me when I feel frustrated about something, trading or writing or whatever, I do something else. So I shut down the PC, I go out of my office, and then I'm doing something else for just a half hour or maybe 1 hour. So you get some distance between you and the problem. You do not have to solve every problem immediately. So in a lot of situations, you have to think about that, and you have to reflect also your frustration. And this is the most important thing, to really have something beside everything. So that's my way. So really to step back, to make a pause, and to bring you back on track. And bring you back on track requires, in my opinion, something like a long-term vision. So you have to know what you want to do, and you have to know where are you sailing to. So what is your vision, what is your dream, what you want to achieve. And the achievement, in my personal opinion, is never something like get rich or have millions of followers or whatever, because this is just an output or outcome from your activity. But in my opinion, it's more like something that you want to get good feedback, that you have fun in the things what you are doing. So, and everything else, I don't want to say comes automatically, but it's a side product. I know that it sounds so strange for a lot of people, but if you have fun to write a book, or if you love to write a newsletter, or if you have a trading system where are you 100% compatible with, then everything else is a side product. So followers or good feedback about that, because I think especially when you write to people, or when you publish something, create something, the people can feel what you or how many or can you feel your motivation and your joy, what you spend, and what you give into the product, and then you automatically have also a good feedback. So create great products and then bring them to the people. I talk a lot about that, but one thing I personally find interesting, because a lot of people ask me that on social media also, they ask me why I give so much away for free. So tweets, videos, whatever. So, and I'm personally convinced that people notice that, and they also are willing, for example, to buy a video course, join your newsletter or whatever, because they see what you are doing and they want to get more from you. So that means spending 90% of everything what you do for free will help you also to get people for your other products. So, and I think it's very important that you have a high quality standard, and that you really say, okay, I want to give something into the community to get also something back.
I couldn't agree more with everything that you're saying, and this concept of loving what you do, like it's so simple, so intuitive, and yet so many people find it difficult to engage in something that they love. It's almost like, you know, something being a grind tends to be like the default for most people. I'm curious. Well, when it comes to trading, what are some of the things that you love about trading? Well, what is it that draws you to trading?
I think in the beginning it's like everybody else, money. Of course. You know, I bought my first mutual fund, I think I was 16, so around 20 years ago. And I was so surprised about the return you can make, but that was just pure luck. So and that was the first thing what draws me also into trading. But over the time, it became more and more something I like to do, because I like to do research and find interesting, innovative companies. And then I jump into the world of the company. That's where I'm having fun. And the trading part itself, so making a bet on a company, or making a bet on a stock, this is just a small part of it. So, but 90 or 95% of what I'm doing is doing research and finding hypotheses, and finding interesting things where you can make bets on. So, and this is really what I'm enjoying, and this is where I spend the most time. And over time, that becomes my main motivation to get knowledge. And I don't want to call that expert, but get knowledge and know a lot of things about companies and markets.
That's brilliant. Like, there's so much brilliance in that. And the brilliance, I think, is that it goes back to the doing what you love part, right? So there's so many different ways to trade. There's fundamental analysis, there's technical analysis, there's psychological analysis, everything in between. You could be a long-term trader, a long-term investor, a day trader, a scalper, but you found the thing that you love and enjoy quite a bit, and it's for that reason that you're able to do this and do it successfully, and manage a dozen other things at the same time.
Yeah.
That's
And
brilliant.
just maybe one additional comment to that.
Yeah.
I personally think that a lot of people are always fighting against their nature. They always fighting against what they love to do, because they think they have to do some other things. So, for example, people always think they have to be an expert in technical analysis, or they have to be an expert in some special indicators or read balance sheets from companies. But if that's nothing, or if this is something which is not compatible with you as a person, then you have a really big problem. And that also comes down to the 9 to 5 job part-time situation. And a lot of people are not running to something; they are running away from something. So they want to get rid of their current job, because they do not enjoy the job, and then they want to go into trading. But in reality, trading is often not the solution for the problem they have. So it's or in the most situation, it's better to find a job. So find something what you like to do, instead of dreaming about trading or dreaming about something which is very hard to do and maybe not compatible with you. So, and this is something I observe with a lot of people, this getting away from something and running into the wrong direction, and have absolutely wrong expectation about where they're going to, and what also the requirements to for example, do trading or something.
Yes, exactly. The expectations. There's gold in that statement, and I have a feeling that everybody's going to pause, rewind, and listen to that again later on when we have the recording posted on YouTube. Um, Something that you mentioned in there too, that I'd like to pick your brain about, is that you don't need to be an expert in all the different things. Are there certain parts of trading that you feel are a requirement, that you must know at least this minimum block in order to be successful at trading?
Yeah, of course, there are some minimum requirements. I would say different. So you need an expert in your own methodology. That is
Okay.
important. So it's not that you see something which other people are doing, and then you think automatically, oh, I have to become an expert in that. So I personally, for example, I'm not an expert in macro trading or macroeconomics or whatever. So I look at those people and I do not understand a lot of things what they are talking about. So, but they found something which they are compatible with. So they do not look at maybe at stock charts at all or whatever. So, and I think that's the most important challenge in trading, to really find something which suits your personality and your strength you developed over the years. Because I personally, I love charts. Charts speak to me. I know that sounds strange, but they speak to me. And one of the reasons I personally think that they speak to me is not that I'm a little bit crazy, but I learned the job of a media designer.
Mhm.
So I work with computers. I think since my 12th birthday or something. So, and I earned my first money as a child with database programming and later with design. So, and I think that helps me a lot with charts, because I developed over the time an understanding of patterns, of charts, of designs, of graphics, etc. And I think that also trained my brain, that trained my visual recognition, etc. And if you are a media designer, for example, you always automatically see errors in the design or mistakes in the design when you look at a page or you look at a screen or whatever. And I think that is super compatible with charts and with charts patterns. So, and over the years, I developed a very good understanding of chart patterns. And when I look at a chart, I automatically see them. They speak to me. So, and this is something where profession becomes intuition over the years. And I think
Yes.
that I have a traineeship as a media designer that laid also the foundation for the usage of charts in my trading career. And come back to the macro guys, for example. Maybe they grew up different. Maybe they have a lot of focus on analytics, on numbers, and whatever. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not a statistics guy. So I'm a visual guy, and I have a deep knowledge about technology companies, because I also have this technology background, database programming, etc., etc. And that is something you should build on. So, and I think this is one of the most important things. Not fight against that, but find that strength and build on that for your own trading career.
That's bloody brilliant, and that's something that I beat that drum as well, and I also have the affinity for charts, and find that they speak to me too. So you're not alone. My goodness. Well, we haven't even gotten into the questions that, like, all the pre-questions that we discussed before. So we'll get into some of those. But to everybody that's here, that's watching live, first off, thank you for being here. Secondly, as you have questions, please put them into the comments, and we'll do a whole open Q&A session towards the end of this. But let's see. The first question that we have is Julian, you had mentioned getting mentored and coached as being one of the best decisions that you had made. Julian speaks about this on his blog, Julian-Komar.com. And I'm curious to hear, like, who were your mentors and what was that experience like?
Yeah, I had different mentors over the time, and also I have subscribed to a lot of premium services and whatever, because I'm always interested in learning. The first thing, or the first guy, which I would call my mentor, was a pure technical trend follower from UK. He's also on Twitter. I think the name is UK trend follower, Trader Steve from UK. And I found him by accident, because I looked for some special trading software at Google, and I found him. And I think that was one of the best decisions in hindsight to subscribe to his service and also learn from him, because he was so risk management focused. As a technical trader, he was very risk management focused.
And at what point in your journey did you decide, you know what, let me get a coach, let me get a mentor? Well, was it early on, or did you do some stuff on your own before?
Of course, I did a lot of stuff by myself, definitely. And I think every time when you get stuck in your own trading career, when you feel you reach the plateau or something, you cannot make the next step further, you have to learn something. That is always something I or when I chose another mentor or premium service, I think the first one, that's years ago. I would say definitely 7-10 years or something, very early in the beginning of my career. But that was pure by luck. So because I looked for something at Google and found this guy who was he used the same trading software as I used. So, and then I found him. I looked at his ebook and I found some parallels with him. And I think when it comes to mentors and coaches, I made one experience. I personally think a mentor and coach has or need the ability to mentor and coach. And that's much more important than he's the best trader in the world. Because if you have the best trader in the world and he's not able to coach anything or mentor anything, then it will not help you. And I always made the decisions to work with people over time. And I selected them also by the ability to coach. So, and there was a guy from UK. I learned a lot about risk management from him. Then I also joined the service from Olivier Tischendorf, for example, which I had an interview on my own YouTube channel some weeks ago. And I learned a lot about high potential stocks from him and learned to understand the companies. I also joined Kevin Mader, for example, learned a lot of fundamentals from him. I also subscribed to other services just a short time. So Gil Morales, for example, learning something about having a total different perspective at the market. So, or don't know, Jim Ropel, for example, learning a little bit more about portfolio management. And I think that is something which is super important, that you know, okay, what is the next step for me? What I want to learn? What is something I'm missing about? And a lot of people have, in my opinion, have or are a little bit afraid to subscribe something, but just do it for 1 month and find out if that helps you. And if not, drop it and join something else or whatever. But that is something I found super important for my own trading and for my own career, to always permanently get new knowledge, new perspectives, and learn from that. And maybe not include everything in your own trading, but get some inspiration. That is what I try to find.
Well, what do you think are some of the big fears that are holding people back from taking that step?
In my opinion, it's in a lot of situations not fear. I get a lot of feedback about fees. I get a lot of feedback about something like, oh, it's 99 US dollar, oh, it's 69 US dollar per month. Is it real, or is it worth the money, etc. And I always say, well, it's only 69 or it's only 99. Find that out. So I personally, for example, myself, I think it's not a big problem for me to spend 100 or 150 US dollar per month investing in my trading education. I know that's not possible for all the people in the world. So, but have a small budget, and it doesn't matter if you join a service or buy a book or whatever, but have a budget for trading education. So if you want to learn something, you have to also invest in yourself. And I think that is, from my experience, and sorry, but that's the truth, that is something I get a lot of feedback when it's questions about mentors. So which mentor service, oh, they are so expensive, etc. And I would say I spent a few $1,000s maybe in my career with trading services and mentor services and whatever. This is nothing in comparison what you get back. So
Yeah,
I
that could be a
just
few losing trades.
one additional word to that. You don't have to subscribe to a 15,000 or 20,000 or whatever seminar, webinar, whatever. This is not my world. So but just a few bucks per month in trading education, that is worth every cent.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and it's a lesson that I learned the hard way after failing for more than for about a decade, right? Like I've been trading for a little over 20 years. The first 10 I tried to do it on my own, and it was a nightmare. And it was when I finally got other people around me that knew what the hell that they were doing that I went from struggling mightily to finally finding consistency, well, within a year, right?
Yeah,
So it can happen quickly. It's just a matter
absolutely.
of like so an extra set of eyes telling you and guiding you towards the right direction.
Absolutely. You know, when you have, I'm not sure how it is in the US, but I live in Germany, and when we do traineeships here, for example, we are
Mm,
sitting next to the masters, we are sitting next to the people and learn directly from them. So they teach us the things. And I think this is the same thing in training. Training is nothing different than a job, and you have to learn the things over years and years and years and years, and you have to find somebody which can teach you that. That is super important. And then after that, if you learn the basics, so understanding market, understanding price behavior, volume, etc., so in my world, then you can become a master. But you can become a master in your own trading approach, not by copying a trading approach and then try to get a master in them. But master your own trading approach, but learn everything from other people, what they teach. So, and then choose by yourself if that's something which is interesting and helpful for you.
mm. What were some of the highlights from the years that you got coached and mentored in? And I'm curious too, is your coaching and mentoring, is it ongoing? Is there other people that are coaching and mentoring you at this level, or are there plans as you continue to grow to do that? Well, yeah, I'm curious to hear.
Highlights. I think definitely the highlights are always at the beginning of my career. So I think
Mhm.
highlights definitely about everything about risk management. So and everything about seeing other people trade. So this is so important that a mentor is sharing his or her thoughts, what he is thinking about a market situation and how he is dealing with a market situation. You know, when you are at the beginning of your trading career and you have problems with over trading, for example, and you see somebody else who is not taking a trade for weeks, and you took 20 trades or something, then you
Mm,
see the difference between a master and yourself. So, and when the master is talking about his thoughts about the current market situation and how he forced himself to be out of the market, so dealing with your emotions, etc. So, and this is something which always were my highlights. It's but always at the beginning more technical and more risk management, etc., and later on everything about mindset and everything about trading frequency, staying out of the market. And these are definitely my highlights in the last year. And that's also about aha moments. So when I see a big difference between my own trading and what the mentor was doing, that was an aha moment where I say, okay, maybe I'm totally wrong with the things I'm doing when I'm doing 20 trades and he's not trading one trade. So because he is so stable and he's so certain in what he's doing that he can force himself not to be involved in the markets. And that were my most aha moments in the years. And I also want to highlight one aha moment, and that was something that was I subscribed to Gil Morales sometime, I think 1 or 2 years ago, and just for 1 or 2 months, and he had a so different view at the things, so totally different than me. And
mm,
that also in that situation I also learned something, to have or to sometimes have a different view at things. When everybody's talking about a stock which is going to the moon, SpaceX or whatever, he was talking about something totally different where nobody's looking at. So, and maybe say, okay, here nobody's looking at that, and there is something going on. And that is also, or that was also an aha moment for me to sometimes not do the opposite, but look into a different direction what other people are looking at the moment in the markets.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Let me ask you this. Have you ever encountered where you have the mentor and you have the mentor's idea, and it's very different from your own, and you start to gravitate towards more what they're saying versus not trusting yourself? I think that's something that's something that I struggled with early on, where I would have a certain idea. Somebody with more experience than me came along that had the opposite notion, and so I'm just like, well, they have all this experience. Toss my idea, go with what they're thinking. Have you ever encountered that? And if you have, how have you dealt with that?
I remember dozens of trades in the past I took because somebody else took the trade. And I would say that just a gut feeling, 80% of them are all failures. Failures because I'm not compatible with that. So a good thing is for example, Olivier Tischendorf. So he's a very aggressive trader and can be very aggressive, but that's not me. So, and there is definitely a difference when you trade, or when somebody else trades very volatile stocks, and I'm not compatible with that. And also my trading approach is not compatible with that. I will lose because I'm not able to hold the trade for the same time and handle the trade the same way Olivier or whoever is doing that. And as I said, so I remembered a dozen of trades, but that leads not to success. And then that's something I learned over the time. And I personally, I experienced and I learned that I need three things for myself. So I need a reason why I take the trade, and that must not be only technicals. So I need a story. I must understand why I take a trade. So, and for a lot of other people I met in my own career, that's not something they need for themselves. So they were more technical traders. But I personally, I need the story, I need the innovation. Not in every stock. So at the moment I'm trading a lot of metal stocks. There is no innovation in that. But I need the story behind that. And if I do not have that, then a puzzle tile is missing for myself, and I'm not able to handle the trade the right way. And that's something you only experience by try and error, I think.
Yeah, well, can you give us an example of well, what might constitute a story? Right, like sometimes it's quite obvious, right? Like you have a company that's changing the world, like your Teslas of the world, right? Like the very obvious story there. But well, what's something for these metals, right? Like how would you? Well, what's a story like, or what would constitute the story there?
Yeah, I
And
think
how do you find it out?
sorry.
And how do you go about finding out the story?
Yeah, I think metals and also commodities itself, it's a little bit different to the stocks I usually trade, because metals always are, or metal stocks or commodity stocks are a little bit easier to trade because you always have the commodity itself. So when a commodity is going up, for example, it's very likely that also commodity stocks are going up. But I always try to find something interesting, what or why metals are going up. And one thing which is important for me is it's not that the story is the truth for everybody, but I need that to have conviction to hold on to a stock. So, for example, when we talk about metals, and I see that so many commodities itself are moving up. So, copper, for example, aluminium, zinc, whatever. So then I'm looking, okay, why are the commodities going up? Is there a big demand behind that currently? Why is the demand behind that? And then over time, I discovered one thing after one thing, and that gives me so much conviction that I'm able to buy a stock and also hold on to the stock as long as this story or the reason is there. And again, it's important that I have the conviction for myself. It's not important that you are convinced about that or whoever. So it really doesn't matter. I have to be convinced of that because I don't want to sell a stock at the next minimal pullback because I have no conviction in that. So this is important. I have to see something in that so that I have enough conviction to hold on to.
That's probably about the best delineation I've heard of story and why it's important.
Yeah. You know, so many people are talking about, oh, that's wrong, that's not the truth, or Tesla is whatever, or that's not all about. So it's all about that you seeing something to hold on to a stock, and of course the stock is only going up because other people are seeing similar things in it. So and say, okay, the company is more valuable in future, and that is the reason why people buy and the price is going up. But conviction is so important as a trader. You know, I write with so many people on social media and via email, and they always think about, oh, I'm not able to hold on to a stock. I sell it on the next pullback. I have problems. I'm sitting in a big profit cushion. So what should I do, etc. It all comes down to conviction. So if you have a lot of conviction in a stock and your own abilities as a trader, then everything becomes much easier.
Can you speak to us a little bit about your trading routine? How you go about preparing each day, each week, what you include in your preparation, and is there, and in that vein, is there anything that you intentionally exclude from your routine? There's a lot in there.
Yeah, so I would say I spend 90% of my own trading routine at the weekend. So, and you know, I have so many things to do also inside the week. So I'm a father. I have an own house. I have a family, etc., and that consumes a lot of time. I have a regular job, so I have to spend a lot of time at the weekends, and I do that mostly in the evening, and I split that over time. So I start Friday, for example, Friday during the markets, during the trading session with screening for stocks. And I usually have, I don't know, what is it, 10 screeners or something. So I have YouTube videos about that, and you learn a lot about that in my trading curves. And I have a lot of experience in that. And this is something so many people underestimate. You know, some people ask me, so how can you screen hundreds of charts in a few minutes? Yes, I have Finwiz. The software has a chart gallery. I'm able to do that in a very short period of time. Or I'm sitting there with my iPad and go through the charts in just a few minutes because I know exactly what I'm looking for. So, and Friday I start with screening. Usually Saturday evening I go to my watch list, and on Friday, for example, I add every stock to my watch list which is interesting, and from fundamentally perspective and from a technical perspective. And over the years, you know a lot of stocks and a lot of backgrounds and a lot of companies. So that makes it much more easier. And I'm very focused usually on growth stocks. So growth stocks are not working right now. So I look also into other sectors at the moment, but I'm very focused usually on growth stocks, and that helps. And really focusing on things is super helpful. And on Saturday evening, I remove a lot of stocks from the watch list again, because I go to the watch list and I remove stocks where I think, okay, they do not have the quality I want to look for. So, for example, they have some not so great ratings from IBD, or the growth is not so consistent as I want to see, or they are not liquid enough, etc. So, and usually my watch list and my work is done on Sunday, and I can start into the week. And during the week, I have only 3 to 5 stocks in a focus watch list, and I stalk them. And I also look to just 1 or 2 screeners during the week. So, and of course, there is some more work when the markets are very volatile, because they are changing the direction all the time. So, and there are less work when you are in cash or something. And that is also which is super helpful. But experience helps a lot, consistency helps a lot, and focus helps a lot. So, and I would estimate, just with trading and research, I would estimate I have 1 hour per day, and maybe at the weekend something like 3 to 5 hours, and that's everything what I personally need for myself.
There was a good question that came in from Imran, and I kind of had a similar question. His question has to do with the current market environment. You mentioned that it's broken down, and that many of the growth stocks that you normally look at aren't viable right now. So, what are you looking at and planning to trade presently? You'd mentioned metals and that type of stuff. Are you able to share your screen and maybe show us a few?
Yeah, sure. We can jump over. So give me a second.
And
So
thank you.
can you see my screen?
Let me click over here, add it to the stream, and we are good to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So I'm looking at the moment a lot of energy, and also you can see energy stocks. XME are the metal stocks. PIX are the metal stocks. And what I'm looking for is something which resists the pressure in the market. That is important for me. And when I look at my own watch list here, so for example ETFs, and I see here copper, copper is breaking out here over the last high. This is something where I clearly see, okay, this is resisting the current down pressure on the market. And I know from my own research, I know that that XLEs, or energy stocks, and also metal stocks are able to decouple from the markets itself. And there were times, so 2007, for example, and also in between, where metals and also energy was exploding to the upside, and S&P, etc., was going down. So, and when I look here at my own watch list, you can see a lot of things are on the red today. So, and a few things are in the green. So BBL, for example, BHP, that's a miner, on a new all-time high today. CVE, for example, is an energy stock. FCX is not in the green today, but it's very close to a new all-time high. So this is a copper stock. MT is a stock I'm personally owning. ArcelorMittal steel stock from Europe. PXD is a stock, and so on. And you can see that. So you can see the strength by looking at your own watch list. And all the stocks which I have on my own watch list, they came up over the time in my screeners. So the screeners I use, they guide me in the right direction. So where the money is flowing in the market, and at the moment the money is flowing into all the stocks, your energy stocks, and especially also metal stocks. So for example, here also I added 2 stocks today on or yesterday on my watch list, Anglo American and also Glencore. So two other metal stocks and mining stocks, and I found them by looking into the ETFs. So what is, for example, XME and PIC? What are they holding? And why is the ETF so close to a new all-time high? And with that, you can generate new ideas. And at the beginning of everything, I got the ideas because I looked into my commodity watch list, and I found that a lot of commodities holding up so good. So, for example, aluminium here is moving higher, or for example, if we look at copper, so you can see copper going sideways here, had a failed breakout, etc. And this is how I sometimes also generate idea besides growth stocks, so that I look left and right beside the market and find, okay, what is moving, what is going up, where is the money flowing? Because if money is flowing out of growth stocks, it has to flow into something else. And your job as a trader is also to find this something else. So where is the money flowing, and then you sometimes generate new ideas about that. In the last weeks and months, a lot of money was flowing here into value stocks, for example. But the problem is, you can see it, everything is in the red here. The problem is very often that if the general market is weak, then also value stocks sooner or later will also move down. And I personally, and this is where I also have problems with, is I personally don't like to trade value stocks so much, because it's much more different or difficult for me to find the story behind value stocks. So when you, for example, look at banks, so let's look at KRE or whatever, and sorry, but I have to say that in the banking sector, there is not much innovation. There are not much innovative and interesting stories. So every banking stock is very similar to me. So, and the same is also true for other value sectors, and also true for example, oil and also commodity stocks. I have no idea if BHP, so BH Billiton, or if Tech Resources is the better company. But from the technical perspective, and also from what I see, what the commodities are doing, I can say, okay, copper stocks or mining stocks or whatever, they are going up, and I can also trade them by the technical perspective. And I also know that there is a lot of growth going on in the economy, and there is a high demand for a lot of metals. And that is also something which I can include, and which gives me conviction to make bets on the trades. So yeah, just to sum it up a little bit. So what I'm looking for is a lot of metals right now, a lot of energy, everything what is outperforming the market right now, until, and this is important, until it stops outperforming. Because you never know if, for example, metal stocks are always having a non-correlation to the general market. That also can change over time. And if you see that also metal stocks are affected by the downtrend in the market, then you also have to switch sides and sell metal stocks. But if you have a look here at my watch list, so definitely I'm watching copper stocks at the moment. I have a position in FCX, in Freeport McMoran copper, steel a little bit, and of course oil stocks. So I have also position in PXD here and Pioneer Natural Resources. And I chose Pioneer Natural Resources not because it's the best oil company in the world, so I have no idea about that, but it was very strong. You can see that one blue bar after one blue bar, so one day after one update. And I chose that because it's so liquid in comparison to other oil stocks.
Yeah, that's one heck of a trend right there. We're starting to butt up on time, so I want to make sure that everybody that's here that's live, if you have questions for Julian or for both of us, now's the time for you to start getting those in. While we're waiting for that, Julian, do you have any advice that you would give a newer trader that's early on their journey?
Yeah, I know that a lot of people don't want to hear that, but don't spend so much time with technical analysis. It's not the golden secret of everything. I know that it sounds strange, but I never read any certain book on technical analysis or something. I discovered over the years that it is much more important to read books about traders, trader biographies, trader interviews, whatever. I know that there is the yeah there or that people think they have to learn something about technical analysis when they look at prices, etc. So, but I personally think that learning technical analysis is something which you can learn by doing and by watching YouTube videos and maybe read one book or something. But spend 90% of the time to get inspired what other traders are doing, what are the problems of other traders, and you will discover that they did not change over the last 100 years. So, and that is the most important thing in my opinion, to get an impression what is trading all about. And trading is definitely not all about drawing rectangles and having indicators and whatever. Trading is about mindset and it's about risk management. I did not know that at the beginning of my own career, definitely not. So, but this is something I discovered and can give back to the people, and over the time, definitely you will learn that somebody else can shorten your learning curve, and that's mentoring. And
Very well stated. Very
yeah,
well stated. Similar question: is there any advice that you hear other people giving that that frankly they should avoid?
yeah. Do not what's the right word? Do not follow every trend, every fashion or every trend in the trading world. The trading world is also a business, and when people come to the market and they think, oh, I have to be a crypto trader or something, I have to trade Dogecoin, I have to trade whatever. So, and this is, in my opinion, this is not the truth. And you can be a great stock trader, you can be a great forex trader, and can have much better returns than people in the crypto business. So don't follow any fashion. Find out what you are compatible with, and that's much more important than anything else, in my opinion.
Here's a question from 777 RE Tax. Are there conflicts between your daytime job and your trading? Example, the opening bell or anything else like that?
Yeah. I think one of my followers also wrote the same question, a similar question in Twitter. You must
Yeah.
know, we in Germany, we have a very big advantage. The US markets starts in the afternoon, so at 3:30 p.m. and they end 10 p.m. in my own time. So, and this is a big advantage for me. So I'm done with my day job usually at 4:30, 5 p.m. So and
Mhm.
then I have the most of the trading US trading session is still ongoing. So this is a huge advantage, and I usually don't trade at the opening bell. And one thing what helps me a lot is to have a focus watch list, only 3 to 5 stocks, because I made the experience I cannot generate more than 3 to 5 really good ideas where I'm planning to buy a position in the next 5 days. So I do not find more than 3 or 5 stocks which are ready to go. And then I put in an alarm so that my trading platform automatically sent me notification, and then it's all about executing a trade. So I know exactly where I buy, how much I buy. So and then I open my trading app, and in 2 minutes I place the order, and that's all. So that's all I have to do during the day. And because everything else is planned the evening before or maybe at the weekend. And I know that there are some jobs where it's difficult to place orders. So I'm working at the moment because of the COVID-19 situation. I worked in a home office for 2 years.
Mhm.
But I personally, also sounds strange, but go to the restroom, place an order. So go for a walk, place an order. There are so many situations during the day, where you can place an order if, and this is important, if it only takes 2 minutes. The most traders they do not have, or they are not so prepared, and they have to go to the watch list and have to do a lot of things, and that takes time. But if you are prepared and it takes 2 minutes and you have so much conviction that you really want to buy the trade when it triggers a certain price level, then everything becomes much easier.
Interesting. I'm curious. Have you considered putting resting orders, like with buy stops or anything like that? And
Definitely,
is
I
that
used
something
that
that you do?
over years. So
Mm.
at the moment, I'm because I'm able to watch the markets during the day also, and during, of course, the evening. I'm placing more market orders, but I also placed stop orders in the last years. It is more difficult with stop orders, definitely, because often you cannot look into the volume before you execute an order. But it's much more important that it's part of your approach than the order type itself. So, when you're using stop orders, you get stopped in, and then the breakout failed or something, and you're trading only a very small position. That's not a big issue. So, and it's more important that you are consistent with your with this order type you're using and how to deal with that when it's a fair breakout, etc. And I personally think I could also do the same thing with stop orders, but maybe get stopped out a little bit more on failed breakouts.
Hmm. Um, Julian, I want to be sensitive to your time. Do you have time for any more questions? I saw
Yeah,
a couple.
yeah, definitely.
All right, great. Like, well, maybe do one or two more then.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Um, yeah, here's a question from Gustavo. Gustavo says, "How do you define those 5 trades you chose? How do you define A plus setups?"
Well, I think so. I have usually a general watch list which contains something like 30 to 50 stocks. You saw the general watch list in the in my screen sharing. So, and I usually take the 3 to 5 stocks from these 30 to 50 stocks, which are very close to buy trigger. And they have to fulfill certain criteria. So, for example, they have to be close to the buy trigger, something like 3 to 5%, depending on the setup. There have to be a volatility contraction below the breakout line. So they have to be a ready to buy setup. And then I put them on my focus watch list, and the stocks on my focus watch list, they have alarms, and a lot of stocks I have on my general watch list are too far away from a pivot point or from a breaker point, and it's really rare that there are, don't know, 5 or 10 stocks which are ready to buy at the same time. And when an alarm triggers, I place an order, and I don't have a priority on the stocks on my focus watch list. So the first which triggers an order or triggers an alarm will be bought.
Oh, that's quite interesting. Here's a follow-up question from Imran. When you focus on 3 to 5 names and set alerts and plan during the week, what if they don't behave the way that you want to see during the week? So what do you do then? You lose that week and not trade, or well, what happens?
I remove them from my focus watch list. So trades have to show they have to show a certain behavior so that I also have conviction and I have clear defined pivot points where I'm willing to buy a stock. Ford is an example. Ford at the moment
Yes.
was a stock where I think, okay, I'm willing to chase here when the market is turning around. That was not the case, and Ford broke down. So that is a stock which has to go from my focus watch list, because I do not think that this stock will set up in the next 5 days. And if that's happening, then maybe I will add it back to my watch list. But I'm not forcing myself to trade. I have no problems to stay in cash or do not place a trade for weeks. So, and if it's necessary, also for months. So, so it's not a big problem for me to put or to remove stocks from my focus watch list.
Julian, this has been absolutely fantastic. It's been a long time coming for us to finally connect. I'm glad that we did. I have several spots where people could find you here. Your Twitter, your website, your YouTube channel. Is there anything else where people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, I think I absolutely recommend always to subscribe to my free newsletter. So I send it out every Sunday, so you can subscribe to my free newsletter on my website. So I send it out with market analysis and with 3 stocks from a personal watch list, and you also get my free ebook as a gift. So that's definitely something I always recommend to my followers.
All right, perfect. I'll make sure that we include that down in the show notes and the description and everything. Last thing before we sign off, a question of the day. This is a brand new thing where you get to ask the audience a question to sit and ponder, and they could type into the chat or drop comments later on. So, question of the day could be anything. Trading related, not trading related. What do you got?
Trading related, definitely. So I think I would ask the audience, what did you do today to improve your mindset as a trader? Because that should be a daily job and daily to do for everybody. So what did you do to improve your mindset as a trader today?
I love that. That's a fantastic way to end it. Julian, it's been fantastic. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you again tomorrow. And take care. Much love. Peace out, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks so much for sticking around to the end. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button down below and become a part of the Mara Wealth community. And make sure that you check out some of the other videos on the channel. They're exactly what you need to see. And leave a comment down below. I read all of them. Leave a comment.